everyone, it's me, Frankie. How's it going? I'm finally bringing you the second part of my Hokkaido trip. If you missed the first part and you're looking for ideas about what to do when you visit in the summer, definitely check out that video as well. In this video, I want to bring you along on a farm stay that I did in a small town called Nankoshi. The farmers, a married couple, have a really interesting story about how they got into this industry, and they also introduced me to their fisherman friend who brought me out on one of the fishing boats and told me a lot of interesting things about his life as a fisherman. Let's get started. After I had left Takibi camp, I drove over to the farm and was greeted warmly by Mr. and Mrs. Oikawa. I was going to stay in their farmhouse for only one night, but it was going to be a day and night packed full of activities. I took a quick look around the house, changed my clothes, and hopped in the car because Oikawa-san was taking me to meet his fisherman friend, and the clock was ticking. A short drive away from Nankoshi is another small town called Tsutsu. It is a coastal town with a population of only 3,000 or so, and the main source of economic activity in the town is their fishing industry. So here we have Kawaji-san and his son. The family has a restaurant where they serve fresh seafood for lunch. I'll link their website below, though to be honest, I don't think it's been updated for a few years. So I'll put a Google Maps link too, just in case. Anyway, once we set out on the boat, I got to learn more about the fishing industry, about how Kawaji-san makes a living, and some tea on the issues with illegal fishing as well. Throughout the year, they catch things like uni, sea urchin, hotate, scallops, hirame, flounder, and awabi, abalone, just to name a few. These are mainly sold in markets and go to restaurants. However, most of Kawaji-san's annual income comes from the sale of namako, sea cucumber. You may be wondering, what the heck is a sea cucumber? It is this thing. I'm not a seafood expert by any means, but I was pretty certain I had never seen these before, and I found out that the reason they're not as commonly sold in Japan is because most of the sea cucumbers caught, at least in this region, are sold to fancy restaurants in China, and it's a real delicacy. So if you've ever tried sea cucumber, let me know. What do you think of it? There are different types of sea cucumber, but the ones in Tsutsu are especially sought after because of their dark color. They're nicknamed kurodaya, black diamonds. There's a legal limit to how many kilograms of sea cucumber you're allowed to catch and sell though, and to be able to sell them in the first place, you need to be in the Fishermen's Union. Some years Kawaji-san doesn't make as much profit because of the illegal fishing of sea cucumber. Because it's so profitable to sell them in China, there's a problem with illegal fishing because people want to bypass the limitations on how much can be sold. The fine for illegally fishing sea cucumber is 3,000 man, over $200,000, with today's conversion rate as of September 2023. But anyway, some people just pay the fine because they can profit so much from these, and the cost of the fine would easily be made up. Allegedly, this is gang activity. Kawaji-san's truck has a sign on it that says he is patrolling for illegal fishing. Of course, when things are fished illegally, the local fishermen lose out on a lot of their income, which is a real shame. I hope this summer he made a good profit too. So anyway, yeah, we took the fishing boat out and we caught a flounder, and by we, I mean they did, and I watched. I did try my best to reel it in, but it was a lot heavier than I expected. Then I gave the leftover bait to the birds. That was fun. Back on land, Kawaji-san showed us how to open up the sea urchin and scallops. If you don't want to watch this part, come back at this timestamp. We of course ate some of the fresh urchin and scallops. Sea urchin is one of those foods that is an acquired taste for a lot of people. Honestly, I've never been a big fan, but I was curious if I would like them any better when they were fresh out of the shell. So I tried again. Yep, huge difference. I was shocked that I really liked it, and now I think I know why. Kawaji-san said that when these are sold, preservatives are put in them in order to keep their shape. The pieces of urchin are so fragile that they can break apart really easily, but they can't be sold if they're not fully intact. The preservatives can make the taste bitter though. So, if you aren't sold on sea urchin, I would recommend trying them as fresh as these if you get the chance. The wonderful Kawaji family also sent us home with lots of fresh seafood for the barbecue we were going to have back at the farm. Mrs. Oikawa didn't join us for fishing, but she was waiting for us when we got back. I had already heard so much about how wonderful her cooking is, and I couldn't wait to try. Before that, though, it was time to walk around the field and harvest a few things before our dinner. These are not the only fields that the Oikawas have. They would bring me out to another one the following day, but they showed me some of the things they were growing. Summer, of course, is one of the best harvesting times. They grow vegetables like asparagus, corn, tomatoes, zucchini, garlic, and potatoes, just to name a few. As Mr. Oikawa set up the grill, Mrs. Oikawa brought out a fresh corn drink. 11 out of 10. When day turned to nightfall, it was time for the barbecue to begin. We grilled up some fresh veggies and the seafood that Kawaji-san gave us, including some of the flounder we caught and even some of the sea cucumber. It was during dinner when I learned about why they became farmers in the first place. I did record a separate interview the next day with Mr. Kawaji, but essentially, when he was 36, he quit his job as a salaryman in Sapporo. His wife quit her office job too. They left in the pursuit of farming because one of their 3 children has a mental disability and they wanted to make sure she was getting the purest and healthiest diet. It was an adjustment for the Oikawas and the 3 kids, but after a few years and some government subsidies, they got the hang of it. We all cleaned up and I was left alone in the farmhouse. Summer in Hokkaido is amazing because it actually cools down at night. It was wonderful to wear a hoodie. It also gets so dark at night in the countryside. There were a few visitors too. The next morning, we had an amazing breakfast with tomato juice. Tomato juice is another thing I have never particularly liked, but if it's fresh like this, yeah, I love it. I also got the chance to see some of their other fields. I was really excited to ride in the back of the K-truck. Farmers in Japan drive these really tiny trucks. I love them. As they were showing me the variety of things like potatoes and pumpkins, I asked how they handle all of this alone. Turns out they don't. They do have workers that they hire. It takes a lot of manpower because they're not using pesticides and other chemicals, so weeding alone can take forever by hand. Obviously, it depends which crop it is. They do have machinery too. Something else I was curious about was the winter. Because Hokkaido gets so much snow and the winter is long, they obviously can't grow things for the entirety of the year. They've taken it easy for the last few years, but they used to supplement their income with seasonal jobs in the winter. Mr. Oikawa would work at a ski resort in Niseko, the next town over, which is a really popular area for skiing and snowboarding. And Mrs. Oikawa used to work at City Hall during tax season. If you're familiar with the channel Life Where I'm From, they stayed at this farm about 3 years ago and it's featured in one of their videos. I'll link that below if you're curious. Alrighty, that's it for the farm stay. This was such a fun experience. If you're ever in Hokkaido, definitely stay with them. Even in the winter when there are no vegetables to harvest, it would be great to stay here and then pop over to Niseko for skiing or snowboarding. I also still have the interview I did with Mr. Oikawa, so yeah, thank you for all of your patience, and of course, thank you for watching this one. Have a great day or night. See ya!